Hi, this is Holly O'Connell with A Path to Hope, and this is Mental Health College Prep 101. This is a presentation I put together for parents preparing to send their children off to school, either with a known mental health struggle or if one arises when they get to school. These are things that I've learned along the way and that can really help you prepare yourself, make a plan, and save a lot of time should you find yourself in need of mental health services along the way of your child's college experience. So each slide will have a sound icon on the bottom right. So if you just click on that, it'll be some narrative to go along with the slide. Enjoy. In this PowerPoint, we're going to discuss things like knowing if your child is ready for college, common mental health problems that may arise, how to find on-campus treatment options, off-campus treatment options, what the Office of Student Disability Services are, and accommodation letters, what happens if you need a medical leave, legal issues, medication management, and forming an emergency plan. This slide shows some common things to look for that may be red flags that your child may not be ready to head off to college. So just look through them, really think about them, and if one or more of these things exists, it may warrant a conversation or at least bringing up the topic with your child. The following information is from the National Institutes of Health and the National Institute of Mental Health. And it just describes some common mental health conditions that may arise and goes into in depth about signs and symptoms. So just go through these and be aware of what conditions exist and how they are recognized. Here are some things to look for if you're concerned about your child who has headed off to school. Look for signs of increased anxiety, everyday stressors that are taken to a new level where they are at a point where they cannot function during the day, uh, increased phone calls to home, increased panic attacks, short temper, consistently missing class, abusing drugs and alcohol, constant complaints of illness, finding fault with roommates, professors, fellow students, really any and everything, the inability to function with daily tasks, hygiene, getting to class on time, making it to the dining hall, taking medication, excessive focus on body image, body weight, or what others think of your child. Any and all of these are things that warrant a conversation and possible intervention. Every college campus will have a student counseling center, so just know what you are entitled to as far as visits per semester. And I would advise getting the intake appointment as early as possible because those spots do fill up rather quickly. If you're unable to get an appointment with your student counseling center, I have search tips on how to find an off-campus provider that will be able to see your child. And you can find one that is convenient to Uber or possibly right in the same neighborhood as the college that they attend. If your child has a documented mental health diagnosis, they can register with the Office of Student Disability Services, and they can create what's called an accommodation letter. What that means is an agreement between the office and your student of reasonable accommodations your child needs to be more successful. For example, if they need to be able to leave class unexpectedly for increased anxiety without question, that can be written in. If they need a limit to how many tests they take during a week, that can be written in. It's agreed upon between the counselor and your student, and then signed by both, and then that letter is given to your student and she will bring it to each of his professors so that they're aware. You also need to know what is allowed for medical leave if your child needs to have that. Most colleges will allow a 2-week emergency medical leave without penalty, so just be aware of what their policies are as far as returning to class without penalty, and financially as well as academically. When searching for an off-campus provider, you can start with your insurance company and get a list of their in-network providers in that area. You can also go to psychologytoday.com, which has a great search tool. You can enter your zip code and the type of insurance you have, and it will generate a list, oftentimes with reviews and ratings and the provider's background and education. So really take your time to look through that list and come up with a couple providers that may be good for your child, and then you can take advantage of their free um, phone consultations that most of them offer, and you can get a real good gauge sometimes just by a quick phone call on whether or not that will be a good option for your child. If you have I have a couple ABCs of searching for a provider online. A is to pay attention. Pay attention to what you're researching and only use reputable sites. Not all sites are created equal. So I recommend things like Psychology Today, NAMI, SAMHSA, which is the Society of Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association. And they give you information on mental health providers as well as providers of substance abuse treatment. And NAMI is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. Psychology Today has a great search tool. You just put in the area that you're looking for a provider in, what type of provider, and it will give you a whole list with reviews. So that's a great A really big issue is legal concerns. When your child heads off to college and they're over the age of 18, they're considered an adult in most states, and that brings with it its own set of new challenges. If your child, for some reason, slips and falls and ends up in an emergency room, you have no right to that child's information because he or she is an adult unless you have a signed medical power of attorney. So there's 3 forms that a local lawyer, Beth Rondinelli, recommends: medical power of attorney, your financial power of attorney, and a HIPAA authorization form. So if you go, I have a whole section on my website from Beth. It's www.apathtohope.org. You can check it out. She has it all broken down for you, and information on how to get access to those forms. I have all this information and more on my website, www.apathtohope.org. There's all kinds of tips and tools on there. So please take a minute to look at it. And I hope this helps. I know it can be a very scary time when your child heads off to college, especially your oldest. Believe me, you'll get through it. But anything I can do to make those first couple weeks a little easier. And if you're prepared and you've done your homework ahead of time, this, in case something happens, in case a sudden onset of a mental health issue comes up, you will be prepared. It'll be one less thing for you to worry about. So thank you for listening. Hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, my contact information is on the website. Thank you.